And here we go. Okay. Well, good thing I checked my headphones. Mosquito. Hello. Welcome, welcome. So it's finally live on YouTube. Excellent. Do, do, do. Oh, there we go. It's Wasm. I think I'm just gonna kind of vibe on this, what is this, Tiny Glade demo until everybody gets in. Usually I play Baldur's Gate, but this is gonna be kind of a short stream because I picked up a shift from one of my coworkers. Are you trying to spell biscottis? I can't spell that either. Those are pretty tasty. There we go. That's a little bit too many flowers. Yeah, we're doing right now, I guess not presently, but I'm playing through Baldur's Gate right now as an Archfey Warlock. But I think I'll probably do that when I can do a little bit, devote a little bit more time to the stream, because that does take quite a while. I think the last stream we did, what was it, like, I think 4 or 6 hours or something like that. But I probably have to pop off here in like an hour and a half, 2 hours or so, because I have to work tomorrow. How about you guys? What time is it where you're at? Oh, I see. I have some flowers here. Oh, right. I have to tell it. Tidy that up. Not that much. That there. Kind of pretty. They're doing like larkspurs and I think that's lupines. Where is that? Oh, that looks maybe like a larkspur. Nice. 2 a.m. Okay, so relatively close. You like Midwest-ish? Mm. And if indeed you are from the Midwest, I have several questions about your culinary appetites. Whoop. Oh yeah, some grab mechanics. Texas, nice. Nice. How's the weather in Texas right now? I hear that it's quite a bit hotter than it is where I'm at. Mm. Oh, nice. Yeah, so just to get to know everybody a little bit better, what is your favorite dessert? I think if I really had to think about it, there is this French patisserie that makes these like kind of like a cake cup sort of, but it's panna cotta and like a spiced plum compo with like little, I think it's like little cheesecakey bits in there, but I don't think it's necessarily a cheesecake. Like like I think it's like if you were at a froyo place, it would be like a cheesecake bite kind of a thing. Hold on, my cat knocked over my laundry basket. She's being super naughty right now because I'm in what she's designated as her chair. Oh, just chaos things. Okay. You can't change the flowers, but you can change the little windows. Nice. Oh, also, if you guys are into reading, I got it. I got the Quan Mills book. I was a little nervous, if I'm being honest, to buy the paperback because I heard that some of his signed editions came with a roach in it. And I don't know if that's just clever marketing or not, but I was like, I don't know about that. So I got the ebook and I am excited to read it. I want to see if it's about, I want to see if the hype is I want to see if the hype is real on it. Because otherwise I'm just doing like adventure and romantasy books and stuff. So I feel like it's probably gonna be like a nice palate cleanser from that, you know? How about you guys? Have any of you guys read any Quan Mills books? Oh, no, I actually don't want that. This is the demo for Tiny Glade. I honestly don't have a problem with buying it, but I'm trying to limit myself for games because the Steam sale, it calls to me. But I have a ton of games that I've never even played, so I should probably be responsible and not get them until next year. That'll be like a treat for selling like 100 of my book or something. Because otherwise, I'm just going to be a little game hoarding goblin. Mm. Oh, that's cool. In the full version, you can add like little pawns and stuff. There's probably a lot more customization available, not in the demo. You guys are always trying to enable me. Everybody was telling me to eat more pie at work today too, and you guys know that I already eat pie at work. I'm going to get so fat if I listen to all of you guys' advice. You guys are enablers in the worst way. Uh, there. Like I still haven't played through Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I really enjoy. I like playing as I think it's Alexios. Alexios is the dude. I think it's really funny to play as a metrosexual Greek man. Nice. And that's me. Oh yeah, okay, so that's how we make them taller. I'll go back over here and change this one. This is like a little hobbit door. Is there a way to lengthen that? And then let's actually move that up. And then move that up. Can I widen this? Perfect. Yeah, so this is the demo for Tiny Glade, and you basically just like make these cute little castles essentially. You can do all kinds of stuff, like you can make little fences, and I think, let's see if I can move a sheep. I think I can move a sheep. So it has these little sheep. Look at that. It's got a little bird riding it. How cute is that? You can pet them. Can I pet the bird? No. But there's a little sheep. So you're basically building like, I mean, if I understand this correctly, you're basically building these adorable little cottages. And like the sheep are around here. Like, can I pick them up? I don't think I can pick them up. I think in the full game you can pick the sheep up and like put them around and like make them like hang out in your little thing. You can also, now it's daytime. Hold on. You can make it daytime. can change the direction of the shadows. I want it to be nighttime. I honestly, right here, like the sweet spot, like that golden hour. This is also awesome too, like right about here. And right about here, that's where I go to bed. Right? Isn't that sick? And then I'm also sleeping here. Wait, hold on. Asleep, awake. So from here to here, I'm asleep. During the hottest parts of the day, it's the best time to sleep, really. So we're gonna just vibe out in this sort of afternoon right here. And then in the full version, it looks like you can make little ponds and stuff. I wonder if they incorporated like little frogs. And you can also incorporate trees, but you can change like, let me move you guys chat over here. You can increase, like you can make, yeah, you can change the steepness to make it a hill. I used it over here to make this little flower bed. You can make it a rocky ledge. If you just do that, it sort of makes like a little flower bed for you out of the rocks. Whoop. It gets a little crazy with that. And then there's different flowers. I think you can. Oh, okay, I see. I had it set to tall. I had it set to shrub, basically. And then you can change it back going like that. But I actually would prefer to have little flowers. Right. No, I like these. Honestly, I really like these little indie games. I feel like they really. Well, don't hit such a bush again. Like, we're gonna get rid of the flowers, and then we're gonna. I want to get rid of that rock. That rock is mosquito season. It's like an annoying rock here that I'm not a big fan of. Okay. Like, oh, okay, that was a little too much. Too many flowers. Let's dial it back. No flowers of any kind. And we'll do just like a bit of flowers. And then that'll carry on around to, okay, excessive. That is an excessive amount of flowers. Oh, look, there's a rose bush in there. Whoop. Okay. Tidy that up a bit. So my coworker that helped me get salsa the other day has to go to the orthodontist to get braces, which means that the amount of samples that go missing at work will decrease significantly soon because someone's going to have oral displeasure. I'm happy for him. It'll be an uncomfortable but pleasant experience. I shouldn't be so magnanimous. It really cuts into my stream time. Oh, look, they have like marigolds too. Nice. The Eye of Sauron. I have to look up a. Eye of Sauron. Tower. Get our reference photo. And then wipe the board. Oh wait, get rid of that bit. Okay. The Eye of Sauron is got like a little. Let's see if bird can draw a circle. Okay, and then probably. Oh, okay. Start here. I don't think it'll let us trap the sheep. So it's made a little hut for the sheep for whatever reason. Why is there a hole there? Unclear, but there's a little hole there. Is this part of... Oh, okay, I see. Okay. There's a little circle around it. Then this. Oh, cute. You see that? He gets a little umbrella when he gets knocked off course. Okay. And then basically another one. Eh, that could be more circular. I see. Okay. I hope so. Let's right now try your best to draw a circle. I think it's gonna make a little hutch for that sheep to get out again. Okay. Then okay, so I think we've maxed out on the actual height. Oh, that does look pretty sick actually from the outside a little bit. It's not true to form necessarily. Well, hold on. Let's see if we can darken that. Darken that. Wait, can we get it slate? Smooth, rough. Can I see the difference? Oh, it's just a gable, or not a gable. Like like a demarcation line. Okay. I feel like probably that one. Okay. And then tower. Oh, what? Okay, try again. Oh no, it's okay, little sheep. He's trapped. He's not pleased that he's trapped. Okay. Now. Dome, Taj Mahal, or little like gnome hat. I feel like it's somewhere in between. And then what? Don't be mad at me, little sheep. The sheep is displeased. Can I make it taller? Color. Look, zoom out a bit. And it's so tall. Oh no, I've lost the plot. Where's that? Whoa. Whoa, you can look at it from the forest. That's cool. Okay, back to the area of. Okay, alright. And there's other colors, but maybe that one. No. Orange for his eye. But then I don't think we can make it dark, but it looks like you might be able to do that in the full version of the game. And then let's put one lamp. Symbolize his eyeball. Oh, you can change the color of the light. That's kind of cool. Oh, cute. Cute. You can hang these little things on it. Let's do more of those. Those are really cute. Oh, you can make it a double. Oh, cute. Cute. On fire. That's kind of cool. Actually, I'm gonna put that right here. No, I can put it right here. Now, can I change the colors of these? Like we're looking at it from Mirkwood. Even though I don't think Mirkwood's that close. Hold on, let me look that up. Wait, isn't Mirkwood kind of close to it? So basically, like, when they're getting captured by the spiders, which the spiders live in Mirkwood, which is also where Legolas is from. What's his name? Frodo finds Sting. No, it's not Frodo that finds Sting. It's his uncle, right? That's Bilbo, right? Yeah. Wait, hold on. Ding was an elven sorcerer. Bilbo Baggins discovers it. Okay. Oh, hello, hello. Mm. So, like, the funniest thing is I remember Lord of the Rings history better than I remember actual history. How funny is that? So, passed it on to Frodo. Okay. History. Elven Blade, Third Age, Rivendell. Oh yeah. So no, Bilbo finds the sword when, because I just remember dwarves almost getting eaten by spiders, but I can't remember which dwarves. So Bilbo gets the sword, rescues the dwarves from the giant spiders, and then the giant spider is also tries to eat Bilbo, like right before he goes into like Sauron's territory. So what is the right? So yes, map of Rohan, Gondor, the Shire, Anor, Hardalin, Gulf of Loon, Shelob. Yeah, the spider that tries to eat him. Now where? Fangor, Lauren, Mirkwood. Okay, so here's Mirkwood. Here's the Lonely Mountain. What's this little blue? Okay, so from the Shire, they go to the Trollshaws. They go to Rivendell. They're in Mirkwood, and they drink the water, and they like start falling asleep, and it's like you're not supposed to do that. There's the Lonely Mountain. Where is the Eagle's Eyrie? But where is Sauron's lands? I can't remember where that is. The mines are in Moria, I remember that. Mirkwood, Rohan. Isn't the Lonely Mountain where Smaug was? No, he was somewhere else. Wasn't he? Smaug, the dragon, was in Erebor, and then where was he? Smaug locations. Yes, greedy dragon. Description, analysis, character. Oh, he's in Beowulf too. That doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Brief history on Smaug's. The difference between dragons and wyverns. Please Google, as if I, an autism, doesn't know the difference between wyverns and dragons. Okay. No, he fights the rivermen, but I can't remember which rivermen, because there's rivers everywhere. Oh, it's freaking Colbert was in it too. Like Stephen Colbert got to play one of the rivermen. Where's the barrelmen? And they ride down the rafts. Okay, let me just extrapolate this from the like context exclusive. So, because like the Rivendell elves and the Lonely Mountains, those are the Misty Mountains. That's the Lonely Mountains. I'm pretty sure it's in Dale. Yeah, the Elven King's Halls. Okay, I see. So, because they go immediately after getting almost eaten by the spiders, they go to the elves, and the elves, I think, try to imprison them or something like that. They've got some kind of beef because, yeah. So back in Bilbo's era, Legolas is still like a young elf, and they ride the barrels down into Dale. It was Dale. They ride the barrels out into Dale, and then that's where they try to harpoon the dragon. Haha, I knew I got it. Okay, so that's where that's at. So Smaug is in the Lonely Mountain. The Misty Mountains are Moria, which is where they talk to the door. And then Isengard. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard. Freaking duh. Okay. Now where's Isengard though? Like geographically. Okay, Mordor's down at the bottom. Yeah, Mordor. It's like all of the memes, and I've just like completely forgotten them. Seen the Sea of Ruin. Where's it? Mount Doom. That's where it's at. The Dark Tower. Okay. So it's in the southeast. That's a long way. That is no wonder it took so many books. That's a long way to travel. This is my favorite part about like fantasy maps is that they like if you are really about that life, you're like categorizing the distance. Like I know he had to have sat there, just like I sat there when I was doing the map for Bite. And was like, how long would it take someone? You just sit there doing the travel math of how long would it take someone that's this height and this capability, excuse me, this capability to go, you know, how long could they travel in a day? And then you're just sitting there like, like cartographer, like you're essentially becoming your own cartographer. Yeah, long movies. Honestly, I think that I was more excited for the release of the Lord of the Rings movies than I was for the Avatar movies. And I feel like James Cameron had to wait way longer to like realize his vision, whereas I don't think Tolkien was ever thinking about making them into a movie. I think he liked writing books because he was a big literary nerd and he's like, I'm gonna make my own language. And I'm like, I get it because when you're writing a fantasy novel, like for example, the country of Valmir, um, is like in my first novel, the Valmir is like quasi Italy, Spain. So basically, like dark skinned, like very lover boy type of peoples, and like really salt of the earth, like earthbound people. And then you get to the country that's like just north of that, and that's Revelis, and that's like quasi France basically, and they're just like a really airy kind of stuffy aristocratic type of people. And then Corvana, um yeah, it's Corvana because Kernabel is the capital. And I'm trying to like incorporate all of these different regions, and because it's really interesting to me like where people go and they settle. Like for example, in Idaho, the capital Boise, it's like French. Yeah, like my biological mother is like super dark. Like she looks like I guess she looks like most people take their coffee. She's like a really dark lady. And my grandmother's also pretty dark. Whereas, like, my Germanic English father is white boy summer all the way. Except for his hair. He has like dark genes in there somewhere, but he's very fair skinned. And so I look like this because I never go in the sun, but I'm actually supposed to be like maybe not as dark as like Colombians, but I'm supposed to be much darker. My habits just don't make me that because my hands, like my hands get super dark in the summer, and by super dark I mean like maybe a 5 out of 10 on like a pigmentation, but like my hands get like dark. Um, but like the rest of me is covered and not in the sun, so I don't get very dark. Um, but like I could never be like what would it be? East Asian pale? Like that's like porcelain, you know what I mean? And I have like dark olive tones and I think like I have blue undertones instead of red undertones because I have like a lot of Mediterranean. But I have a bit of French, which is why I have such a petite nose. Yeah, let's see on here. I actually am trying to like go back and figure out what all of that is. But anyway, that's a bit in the weeds. So basically my point is it interests me how like all of these things come together and you have very distinct peoples from different regions, and I'm really trying to incorporate that. So like yeah, I'm like 60 something percent Irish, or no, hold on, that one's my dad's side. Like 63% Northern Italy. But then I've got a lot of like Norwegian and French and Germanic. But I like the idea of like the way cultures interact and like the temperatures and stuff like that. So like people in like colder regions tend to be like sort of more terse nations and stuff like that. And I feel like those things are interesting in character development and how like, it just I think it's a funny concept for me for like immortal vampires to be living in like a really cold Slavic region where like in Twilight how no, I didn't. That's why it's so difficult for me to extrapolate. I'm basically having my Blood Witch stepdaughter go back and sort of like alphabet um alphabet agency her way into my genome. Like I tried to figure out what my blood type was because I have an aversion to piercing my flesh. And so, hello, hello. Um, we're talking about regional differences in literature and I guess my own genes. No, I really wanted to do that, but also it's difficult because I have there's like an adoption in my like ancestry, so like one of the people in my one of the people in like my maternal line is not actually like in my family. So like genetic wise, obviously I love him to pieces, but that doesn't matter when you're looking at like the raw ingredients of a person, you know what I mean? So she went back through and she like found a kid that like I didn't know that like biological parent had, which is crazy. That's so fun. Like I like sort of the mysteries of like going back through that, but I digress. So if you go back through, you can sort of track people's travels through their literal DNA and stuff. And I've noticed that like a lot of like the Italian women in my family have like, there used to be even have you guys ever seen there's a commercial for like this gelato ice cream and the guy comes home and his wife is like cooking in the kitchen and she just starts screaming into him in Italian and then he starts yelling at her because they're both Italian and she's like, they're screaming, they're screaming, they're screaming. And then there's gelato in this like paper bag of groceries that they have. And then they briefly have like a very sweet and tender moment. And then she just like immediately goes back to screaming at him. And I'm like, these different like cultures and the way that they interact with each other is very interesting, especially if there was like geographic isolation. You get a lot of like weird behaviors. Like for example, like the people from like the South, I guess there was some sort of a thing where they sent people from like the prisons to marry like I think prostitutes and then they sent them down to Louisiana as like this is how you get out of jail. There's all kinds of weird stuff like that in history. And when you're forming a world, you're creating history. And so the way that those things interact is important. I mean, maybe not in the grand scheme of things. Like, I'm pretty sure you could just slop together a novel, but I don't think that those novels are as interesting as when you like set the framework. Like a really good DM when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, they don't just say like, "Oh, go here, do this." They like have in their head like the history and the knowledge, and luckily they don't have to come up with a ton of that because there's like, I think Wizards of the Sword Coast is the company that owns that. They have like a whole like compendium of knowledge on how those things interact, which I think they like messed with in the last update, which is like, oh yeah, I'm seeing came from YouTube. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but I just think like Twitch is like slightly more reliable as far as like showing me your comments and stuff like that. Hold on, let's go so we can see our magnificent tower a little bit better. Gorgeous tower. Let's oh, does it make little steps? It makes little steps so that the cute. Let's brighten that up a bit. But yeah, so Valmir is supposed to be like quasi Italy, Spain, like a very Mediterranean sort of nation. To make sure that I'm not on here too late because I do have to work. I'm gonna set an alarm so I don't overstay again for an hour and 3 minutes. And then I'll have to bid you adieu to go to bed. But I suppose the pies don't sell themselves. Well, they do kind of sell themselves. We had a crazy day today, but I digress. So I wanted to incorporate like, it's not strange for someone to be really like flamboyant or gaudy and for someone to be really like haughty in this area because of the way they conduct themselves. Like they're very open people. They're very like sort of lovey-dovey people and maybe not so much in like like the more rural regions. I feel like a lot of those cultures tend to like sort of congeal once you get into like larger like metropolitan cities and stuff like that. Although I'm not sure metropolitan would be the word for like a medieval place, but basically where large people cluster, there's going to be different behaviors than when there are fewer people for sure. Um, and then I've written a bunch of backstory for one of the characters, but she doesn't get a character arc until book 2. So I've written essentially her entire lore. Basically, she's kind of like a stolen bride, but not to be confused with the the portal witch one that I'm working on in the like hyper futuristic sort of solo leveling type novel. Um so all these immortal vampires live in this like Slavic, cold, sort of dreary country to the, I think, slightly southeast. I still have to mess with the map a little bit. I'm not like entirely pleased with how the map is yet. So you guys don't get it until it's like perfect and I've sent it to somebody with more cartographical talents to sure up. But ideally, it would look something like this when it's completed because I will have had the entirety of the map finished up. Because right now, come on, map. Right now, it's only like this big, pretty much, which is not that large. How do you make the vamps interesting, though? So I like to, they're immortal, right? And that's through, some sort of like god boon forever ago. And I like the idea that, like similarly to sort of like V Rising a little bit and Witcher lore, that the sunlight doesn't kill them, but it makes them sick. So like essentially like an accelerated version of like heat exhaustion and like heat paralysis and stuff like that. And then they would require like excessive nourishment to come back from that. And also I like that in the Witcher's lore they don't have to eat blood, but they do. And then I wanted to incorporate also like sort of a vision element to it because it is like sort of quasi magic. So they have this like religious cult in part of their country, called the Sisters of the Priestesses of Liss, Liss, and they are essentially supposed to be a like Vestal Virgin class of women that just stay in this temple all day, and they've got like gold and ruby like um accessories and stuff like that. So that's how you would denote them. They're not like sort of like a pristine sort of nun character. They're more like sort of, it's giving more like Greek sort of stylization. Um except it's like super cold there. So they exist in this temple that's like sort of geothermally heated. So they're like not really supposed to leave the temple kind of stuff. And because of that, they're supposed to be like pure essentially. But because Marcus is kind of a dingbat and he has like snubbed nobility, I think we talked about this a little bit in the last one. Because he is snubbed nobility because when he was a younger man, younger than he visually looks, he had like a tryst with this other noble that he was friends with, sort of like one of those childhood friend type of things where like you try it out and it's like not great. Except when they hooked up, it kind of like fucked up a bunch of political stuff for her. And so she was married off to like a lesser noble because of them being like found out. And that kind of like soured him to the whole nobility thing because he was like, oh, it's not a big deal. But like his consequences had like effects on other people. And instead of just like taking accountability for that and sort of, growing as a person and being like, oh, maybe I should mature and like sort of like fill the role that I'm like meant to fill. He just decides like, well, I'm just going to abstain from any responsibility at all and I'm just going to be an entertainer. What was that? Oh, look at that. That's cute. He's flying off with his little umbrella. Adorable. So cute. He's just hanging out. Nice. So the sheep can fly in this game. So he's just like, oh, I'm gonna be an entertainer, and then Dimitri, who's like the high vampire like king basically, he tells his right hand man, his general basically, he's like, hey, I'm gonna go off to the west and I'm gonna like inventory the cattle or whatever. And he says like he's like talking to him like that, but he doesn't actually mean that because he just like kind of wants to get away because all of these nobles are like giving him kind of a headache. Like it's a lot to have to be the king. And if you have an opportunity to leave, then you're gonna like go on a little holiday. So he goes on holiday. Stravos, his general, is like sort of none the wiser. He's like, yes, check in on the sheep, and then the dragon can like, take care of everything or whatever, and we can like rule as gods like we're meant to. And he's like, yeah, yeah, sure, sure, I'm gonna go check on that. Don't do anything till I come back, right? And then he goes over there and he just gets to like sort of let loose. And in doing so, he meets Marcus and he sort of like quasi tricks him into going back with him to Corvana. And then he turns him immortal, which, Marcus thinks is going to be cool. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to just essentially get to be immortal and like fuck around forever. Time means nothing, like woohoo party time. Except Dimitri has larger machinations for him. He wants him to like fulfill his role as like what he's meant to be as a man. And if he keeps fucking around like he is, like he's going to waste his life. And so he's like, I have this inclination, which I'm not going to tell you why he has that inclination, but he's like, I have this inclination that he is meant for better things, and also he's important later on down the road. So I gotta like lock this down. And that pisses Stravos off because Stravos has been kind of like being a little insubordinate, and he goes off and finds his own ward. And he's like, hey, I want this guy turned. And Dimitri's like, yeah, in a minute. And he's just kind of like messing with him a little bit because he can and he has that kind of power. And also, you shouldn't just hop to when you're like the king. Like, you hop to when you want to. You don't hop to when other people tell you to necessarily, unless it's for a good reason. Like, your advisor's like, oh, the enemy's at the gates or whatever. But for reasons unknown to you, he needn't hop to any of those things because he's highly alert to those things. So he's like, no. And then that again pisses Stravos off a little bit more because he's like, hey, I wanted like my guy to be turned so that I could have a right hand man, essentially, so that he could like, start politically maneuvering around the king should he need to, because he's like not getting this whole conquest thing done on a proper timeline. So then that's where the political story starts for them. But then I'm thinking about in book 2, I can either start with like where we left off with Serena, who's the mortal girl that Marcus starts traveling with after he's been ousted from the kingdom, or I could start with the backstory of Stravos's ward, Eric's, and like sort of how he comes into, because in book 1, you're sort of naive to like how the world works because it's being told from the main character, who's basically like a country bumpkin. And as she's learning things, you're learning things. And Marcus is not exactly like forthcoming with this knowledge because why would you need to know? Like, it's not a big deal. He's that type of a guy. Because it's not a big deal for him, but he's not thinking ahead, which is kind of his whole problem. He's only living in the now. And so it's all about what he feels like right now and about what he wants to do right now. And that's kind of part of his problem. Like, that's his character arc that he needs to like get over. But what's going to make him do that, right? Like, how do you change if you aren't forced to? So I can either start with like how it's going for Serena now that they've made it to Kernabel, which is the seat of power he's supposed to be ruling, or instead of doing that, because I did get a suggestion for that, but I don't know if I'm going to take her advice or not. Or I could start off and sort of start with the world building and then drop you in after I've like sort of given you the backstory of like, yeah, so in this other region that's brand new and fresh to you, this woman is being sold into a political marriage and she is very mad about it and she's kind of getting a raw deal. And so because of that, then I introduce sort of the magic system of how this world works, and sort of give you a little bit more insight into that. And then it goes into some political maneuverings that are in the past to like sort of catch you guys up on what's been going on and like how much time has passed and like why these people would be acting the way that they are because of things that have already occurred. So you would be privy to that. And then drop you into like sort of a Machiavellian plot to like cause trouble. And I already have like sort of a bestiary situation that I'm trying to figure out for this era. There's not a ton of them, so I don't necessarily think that that would be like a large requirement of that, but I think that that could be fun and interesting. But I feel like a bestiary of like a lot of these creatures has sort of been done to death, so I don't necessarily think there's anything that makes these creatures too fundamentally different, but the way that they're presented, I hope, is sort of refreshing and interesting. But, funny enough, I've never read Brandon Sanderson. My roommate has all of his books, though. She's a big fan of the Skyward series, and I think that's the one with, like, bug creatures and spell singers, something like that. Some sort of magic blade situation. There's like a pretty fine Asian or quasi like Asian protagonist. So she's nearly got me she's nearly got me radicalized into reading those books, but they're quite long. Um And I just got done reading Christopher Paolini's Aragon series. I mean, I've read the Aragon series, but I just now read Murtaugh. And I gotta be honest, it was kind of a slog. Like, I liked the world building of it, but I feel like it just sort of drug on a bit. Like, and I don't necessarily feel those things when I'm reading Tolkien. Yeah, I'm sure that he does a good job. But I haven't gotten to it yet. Um, I think maybe if there were like more Asian characters, I would be into it. Right now, I'm reading a book from That's what's keeping me away from picking up a series. I don't mind a cult following. I like The Witcher. I really liked reading. Don't ask me to pronounce his name. I can't. I think it's like Andrew something, whatever, that wrote The Witcher. I really liked that. I think that he did a pretty good job of keeping beat with like quiet moments and also action. I think he did a good job with that. You know what? If you haven't read it yet, on my reading list is actually let me pop back into my Kindle right now. First of all, I'm absolutely going to read Quan Mills, This Hoe Got Roaches in Her Crib, because I think it's hilarious. And I would really like to see for myself whether that book is the phenomenon everybody says or if that's all hype. And then I'll give my analysis on the YouTube, on the author one, by the way. If you guys are following Riley Bird Official, that's the wrong one. That's the Dinkin' Around YouTube. You're going to want to follow Bird, BYRDFLOCKOFFICIAL, Bird Flock Official. That's the author YouTube. I think I have it linked in here. But anyway, I was a real big fan of Vivian Van Veld's Heir Apparent series. She also has a book called User Unfriendly, which I liked, and I have not yet read Deadly Pink. But I think that honestly, that lady was kind of ahead of her time with that. I really enjoyed those books. Heir Apparent, I read like 6 or 7 times. I really, really liked that book. I think she did a great job. And she was writing about AI and like virtual reality well before it ever existed. But I'm also going to, at my hubby's request, or I guess his suggestion rather, I am going to read the old like Conan books from Robert Howard, because I think that he was a bit of a feminist before his time, but just the way he writes, and just the snippets that I've read is very intriguing to me. So I'm excited to get into that. And then, oh, I guess I should put that. How long is the Conan series? I don't think it's like a super long. There's like it sort of reads to me like how the Season of Storms, I think it is, with the Witchers is, where it's just like sort of a collection of short stories about the characters. And so you can kind of just sort of pick it up and put it down as you please. But I got the complete Conan Saga selection for I think it's like $4. It was a steal, honestly. So I'd like to read that because I'm a big fan. Oh, and it comes with a map. Ooh, I'm a sucker for maps. Anyway, a real big fan of like, I guess would that be high fantasy where they like give a shit about the history and the background and stuff? Big fan of that. I'm not really hip to like all the lingo and tags with all of this. Like somebody said HEE the other day, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And they said happily ever after. Oh, HEA. And I'm like, what? So I guess technically my second book that I am near completed finishing, where the feedback ends, is like sort of a modern day Gatsby Nana series about like, I guess to a degree longing, alienation of friendships, and sort of found family. That one's technically a happily ever after, but that one is just sort of a one-off because I wanted to write a modern book, just to, kind of stretch out in that. A couple of the characters are contrived, but a couple of them are based on real people. So, I think it would be interesting for people to decide which is which, but probably the ones that are the weirdest are probably the real people, but who can say? So, Those are definitely on the list. I should probably put those in the Goodreads. Actually, matter of fact, that's probably a great time to tell you guys about that. So I have a book club actually, and it's on Goodreads. It's just Bird Flock Book Cult. I think it says book club in the title because I wasn't sure what I could get away with that. But it looks just like that. It's free to join. If you have any suggestions of books that you would like to read, I am open to suggestions. And so far, we've got quite a few books to choose from. Where's the groups at? Right now we have in there. Is it not going to show it to me? I'm not entirely familiar with this app. I think, where did I put them? Archfey, authored, recommended. So right now I'm reading through, oh, come on now. I'm reading through J.F. Lee's omnibus of Sword of Sorrow, Blade of Joy, Tales of the Samurai. And it's giving kind of like Samurai Champloo vibes. And so far, so good. I just bought the book just on my own for the first book because I was waiting to get his arc reads and I couldn't wait. And I think that the omnibus actually is a little bit more recent than the books that are available on Amazon. But I'll put that. I'm like 39% of the way through, but I'm gonna skim back through the omnibus. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm gonna skim back through that to see if it actually is truly different. And if it is, I will be including that in my review to be like, hey, by the way, this one's actually pretty sick. Just remember, as an author note, that he should probably update the manuscript he has on Amazon because I believe it's outdated. If one can believe the omnibus and how he has that edited. But because this guy's, I mean, he's on like his fifth book and good for him. I can't wait to see how the second book goes. I'm already like, I think I read it for like 2 days and I'm already like 40% of the way through. Because I can't wait to see what everybody's doing in that. And then let's see, what other books do we have in here? I have been recommended The Poppy War. So I'll probably be diving into that. Shield of Sparrows. I really have been recommended based on enjoying the Witcher series. I hear it's like an elevated version of kind of that, but I believe it's written by a woman, so we'll see. We'll see if it lives up to my expectations of that. I'm kind of a harsh critic. Not so harsh where I'm like, nobody can write better than me. Obviously, there are a great many authors that write well better than me. But it's about sort of the enjoyment of the book. Like, I mean, I really appreciate that they have the rating system on Goodreads where basically it says a 3-star is that you like the book. A 4-star is that you love the book, and a 5-star is like would read again. I think that's how it's categorized. Where is it at? 5-star rating of books explained. Okay. So basically, a 1-star book, you did not like the book and potentially did not finish it. Although I have a real hard time not finishing a book. I think to date, I've only not finished one book, and that was the book that Slim Shady's Bodyguard wrote, because it was just so horrible to read. Like, not in its context. It was pretty much what I thought it was going to be as far as like, rappers doing drugs and like abusing their power, but I think it was called Shady Business. which great title, but yeah, Shady Business spelled wrong. Life of Marshall Mathers Bodyguard. It's not great. I'm gonna be honest. That guy probably should have had an editor write it, but then like I understand like to a degree that wouldn't have been in his own voice because it would have been grammatically correct and had proper punctuation, but it is so hard to read a book that's just like so rife with grammatical errors like that. Like to an extent, I mean, it's kind of hard to read like old school, like sort of Tom Sawyer-esque books for that very same reason. Although I have read to completion Lonesome Dove and yeah, I have read to completion Lonesome Dove and Comanche Moon, which I can't remember who wrote those, but I liked both of those books. It's written by Larry Mc Larry Mur Murtery Larry McMurdery, I think. I'm probably butchering that. But I like that book. I also think that that movie was a bit long because it's like it takes all day long to watch that series because it's so long. But I think they did a really good job. Whoever made that would have loved streaming series because basically every part is like an episode, like a movie in its own. And if you're a big fan of westerns, highly recommend it. I don't know that I think they did both of them. I think they did Comanche Moon um and they did Lonesome Dove. Lonesome Dove. Yeah, they did Lonesome Dove and then I think Comanche Moon is them as young men. Yeah, they did both. Yeah, and if you're a big fan of westerns, highly recommend it. Like if you're on that Red Dead Redemption kick, um, you know, pop some tabs and watch that. Highly recommend. Oh, thanks. It was good to see you, Reef. I'll probably be on again tomorrow with actual gameplay. I just didn't have quite as much time today as I thought. Oh no, where's it gonna go? Mm. So anyway, if you're about that Western life, highly recommend Lonesome Dove and Comanche Moon. You can eat, I personally am a big fan of chronological order to things, so I would watch Comanche Moon first because it's them as young men, and then you like. I think they do a good job of investing you in the character in Lonesome Dove, but if you really want to like start from the beginning, you should start with Comanche Moon and then watch Lonesome Dove afterwards, which I know it's like a ton. That's a ton of time to invest. But I mean, we all played like 100 hours of Red Dead Redemption, so like in the grand scheme of things, is it like that much time to invest? And then I still have like a bunch of like Louis L'Amour like westerns that I need to read. I have like the entire like compendium of those. And I watch Tombstone at least once a year because I feel like it is a cinematic masterpiece. Okay, so this scale. So 1 star review, you did not watch it, or you didn't like it, or it had serious flaws in both the plot, writing, or character development, and you would not recommend it. 2 stars. The book was disappointing or had significant issues that detracted from the overall reading experience. It has some redeemable qualities, but ultimately did not impress. 3 stars. It was okay, but not particularly memorable or outstanding. It might be enjoyable, but not something you would rush to recommend or reread. So I think that comprises like pretty much a lot of books, unless if you enjoyed the book for what it was, but weren't like super enthused about it. And then 4 stars, book was enjoyable, but had minor flaws. Would still recommend to others, but would have few small critiques. So that's pretty much, I think, the highest I go for ratings, like generally, unless it's something that I am actively like The Witcher, I would give 5 stars. I loved reading all of those books. I liked the fact that the characters were well developed. I liked the dialogue. I think he did a really great job being consistent with the dialogue. I think that when you create a universe like that, 10 out of 10. I also am excited to read, have not yet read this book, but this is in my list to read. I have not gotten to it yet though, because if I'm being honest, the character names are a bit much for me personally. I have difficulty pronouncing let's see here. So from the roof of Golvahar, Zoraya could almost believe that she existed. The roof was a dangerous place, a painful luxury. Standing at the edge, she could see the garden spread out in front of the palace, lush and beautiful as always. But beyond that, beyond the gates of Golvahar, was the rest of the world, far larger than she could ever imagine. A city full of people encircled the palace. A road led south, down to the central desert, and to the other provinces and other cities. On and on, to the very edge of Atashar. Beyond that were more kingdoms, more lands, and more people. From the other end of the roof, she could see the dry forest land and the dreaded Mount Arzur to the northeast. From every corner there was always more and more, mountains and deserts and seas and hills and valleys and settlements stretching on without end. It should have made Soria feel smaller, inconsequential, and sometimes it did, and she would have to retreat with teeth gritted or fists clenched. More often, though, standing alone under the open sky made her feel unbound and unburdened. From this height, everyone seemed small, not just her. So it's like, I'm a pretty quick reader, but some of these words, and I understand it's probably like a regional thing, but it doesn't mesh well with my brain and my tongue. So I'm going to have to probably get the ebook and then trick my ebook into reading the names as like something more palatable to me, which I think might be a life hack for. Oh my squirrel! Are you just terrorizing your brothers? No. Poor boys. Oh, I know you were sleeping. Naughty kitty. She just like barreled in here like a freight train and jumped on her brother's head. Sweetie, it's not nice to jump on brother while he's taking a nap. It's not nice. You will not be getting a treat about that. That's borderline bullying. But I think if my assumption is correct, I can go into my Kindle and I can tell it to pronounce the word as a completely different word, ideally. So I could just change the name and then read through the book. Or, better yet, it will understand how to say that word in a more pleasing tone than I can conjure, and it won't be an issue at all. But those kinds of things, like, I think that's how I ended up with Marcus and Dimitri and Serena, because it was like, I really wanted to go hard in this whole, like, I guess circling back to cultural relevance and like historical backgrounds in fantasy. I really wanted to go hard on these names, but like at a certain point, I think it's important to take your reader into account, where it's like some of us are going to be dyslexic and have a difficult time with a name that's mostly consonants. You know what I mean? So if you get too fantasy element in it and there's not like sort of a melody to being able to say these names, it's going to be tough. Like, I mean, I have a difficulty saying like orcish names and stuff like that. Like, it just is what it is. Now, one of the things I will give credit to Christopher Polini for is he is like notorious for putting in the very front of his book like a pronunciation guide of how he envisions the names being said. And he also puts like the phonetic, like this is how you pronounce that. And I really appreciate that from him. And I think that if you're gonna have some kind of uncommon fantasy names in your book, highly recommend putting a pronunciation guide in your into your book, even just so that you can calibrate the names. Like for example, if I was trying to go through and trick my e-reader into reading the names as something more palatable for me personally, having like a page one list of everybody's names and how to pronounce them would be fantastic for that, because then you're not having to hunt through the book to find these names and stop and start and stop and start. You can just sort of calibrate from the beginning. And that, I think that also goes into the world building too, because I think you can start to notice, like for example, in the anime and manga series Apothecary Diaries, like some of the, and I won't spoil it because it's fantastic and I highly recommend it. You guys should definitely watch that. It's got the anime focuses mostly on mystery, but it has like romance elements to it. But it's like crazy ultra slow burn. So like don't even trip. Second of all, it's not gonna be like Rent a Girlfriend or whatever, but yeah, I think Rent a Girlfriend is the one I'm thinking of, where like the entire series goes on and it's just like very lackluster at the ending. Do not recommend. And then so back to Apothecary Diaries, there is the manga and the light novel, and one of them focuses more on the mystery elements of like the succession of like the emperor and stuff like that, and the second one focuses more on the romance. So in the mystery version, there is a character whose name sounds very similar to this other character, and it's actually how like she gets found out to be a spy, because like the characters in her name are like too similar, and she chooses this name because like pretty much nobody can read. So she's like, oh, okay, like I'll just pick this name because I like it and it sounds good to me, because it's something that is regional and pleasant and reminds her of home, right? And so then your main character can read and is quite clever and is basically a detective. And so she's like, that's weird. None of my business though, which I loved for her as a character. Like anytime she like merely uncovers like a plot to something, she's just like, not me though. This is somebody else's problem, which I wish I had more of in my life. I just can't help myself. Um, so the names, I like when the names have meaning, but I personally struggle if the name has like too many syllables or is too exotic in its nature, whether fantasy or otherwise. Um, but also like I wouldn't necessarily enjoy, I think, a fantasy book where like the main character is like Brad, or like I think there's one I think there's one book that my roommate reads where like every like third character is like Steven or something like that. And she makes a joke of it. The writer makes a joke of it in her book, but I feel like that'd just bother me, you know? So I'm so far I would give this where's that? So far at the like 40% ish mark, I would give this let's go back to my books. So far, I would give this J.F. Lee book a 4 out of 5. There are things I would change, but did I finish the cat game? Which cat game? I have several cat games, if I'm being honest with myself. Are you talking about A Castle of Cats? Because I definitely finished that game. There's like a slight delay on YouTube too. Just FYI, I don't know why Streamlabs hates YouTube so much. I'm pretty certain that I set YouTube to low latency, but I don't know what it still is. Finish the cat game. What cat games do I have? Oh no, that was the raccoon. That was Wanted Raccoon. No, I ended up getting like stuck in the I got stuck in the junkyard. I like jumped over because whoever mapped out that game, I don't know if it's an early release or what. I probably should have looked into that. Maybe that's the problem. Community hub. Maybe it's an early release. Let me double check. No, no, Sims, be quiet. Wanted Raccoon. Is this an early development? Yeah, it's an early access game. Okay, I rescind my earlier criticism then. Because one of the things that they need to do, yeah, they did a good job for an early access game, I will say that. But if it was a finished product, I'd be pissed because like so, and again, I make no claims that I'm some video game expert or anything like that. But as a consumer, when you either have to make it so that I can walk through walls like they did with the Isle, where like basically you're not going to get stuck on foliage because that like if you're in any kind of like chasing this or that, I either need to be able to not get stuck on these decorative elements of the game, or you need to make things have a hard edge to them. I shouldn't be able to fall through like decorative items and get stuck. But I understand that probably takes a ton of time. And if you make a game too visually dense, you're gonna have a bunch of things to duct tape and fix, which is why, like, for example, this game, I mean, there's not a whole lot going on. You know what I mean? And that's kind of its charm. But if you're going to do so, that's why I think a lot of developers probably um, would invest, well, probably should invest in cozy games because I mean, like, as long as you have the raw artistic elements of this and you have kind of like a simple premise, you can put out a pretty good game. Like for example, when we played, yeah. Well, honestly, I was just trying to sort of um play something that wouldn't be as like mentally overloading and still be able to talk to you guys. I'm still trying to sort of like find that balance between being able to interact with you guys and playing the game because I feel like I really lock in and then I just completely disregard you guys. And I don't think that that would be as like visually entertaining for you guys. This game is pretty. Like, for example, like when we were playing Squeak Ross before, the developer put a lot of effort into making like the little mice and making all of the little like design elements, and the game itself, the concept of the game is very simple. Like the little, basically the minesweeper sort of element of it, that's not going to require like probably thousands of hours of coding or this or that. Like you're basically telling whatever you're putting in. Again, I am by no means a tech expert, but you're probably putting into an algorithm like, I want this to happen in this area and randomize like the patterns to sort of this extent. And then you would figure that out. You would check all of those things. And if they had any kind of bug or sort of hiccup or whatever, then you would fix that. Whereas like Wanted Raccoon has so many moving parts. And like, I mean, not a ton of moving parts. I think they'll get to it. But the timeline in which it would take to get to it depends on like the size of their development team and also, I guess, where they're going to take that. Like if they make like a fully sandbox game, I feel like personally, I feel like they would struggle with that. But if it's just a narrative driven game and you do this and you do this and you do this, and then like maybe at the end there's like an epilogue where you like play raccoons and just kind of dink around after you've already sort of like mapped everything out and everything's Gucci. Um, but I think it has similar problems with oh, what is the other book? What is the other game that I had? Not the Isle, it's another dinosaur game though. And essentially there were so many things like they were trying to do like even Red Dead Redemption and stuff like that. Like I can appreciate that the developers wanted to make the most photorealistic game that they've made. Which again, I don't think Wanted Raccoon is there yet, but I also don't understand video games. So maybe that's just something you turn on afterwards and they're just like running it at a slightly lower. But I also lowered the settings if I remember correctly, because um I don't care that it's in Super HD. I'm from the old school. I'm from the trenches. We used to watch videos in 360p on a pirated server, allegedly. So like I've been comfortable watching like pixelated movies for like a minute. So I don't need my game to be like so realistic. I feel like I could like stick my hand through the screen and touch everything. Maybe I'll get to a point where I need that because I'm like going blind or something because I'm old. But so far I've got 20/20 vision and it's the gameplay is the most important to me. For example, this Tiny Glade game, I think it's aesthetically pleasing, but like I don't need to see the veins in the blade of grass. Like I know what grass like this is excessive. You know what I mean? Even this level of detail to me is like kind of excessive. Like they have each individual blade of grass swaying. Like, I mean, good for them, but like, who's this for? Is this for me? I mean, I appreciate it, but I don't require it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, look at this. And this is the demo. This is what they're giving to us for free. Look at that. They've even got like the camera, like somebody put a lot of love into this. I will give them that. They put a lot of love into this game. Like, even the fact that this kind of blurs out so that you can kind of like this sort of chalk outline essentially. This is pretty. I can honestly see a lot of people maybe using screenshots of this for like fantasy artwork just so that they don't have to like map out, you know. Right. Like I think somebody this is for somebody that's maybe not me because I don't require this level of like attention to detail in a game, I guess is where I'm going with. Like, I'm fine with it being like, I mean, hell, I played Skyrim for like a long time. Like, Skyrim, like, would it have been 2009 Skyrim? Or would that, was it 20, 2013 or something like that? When did Skyrim come out? And I tried to play that the other day, and that is horrible. I've been spoiled. Skyrim release date 2011. And it's still playable. You know what I mean? Just not as a Brenton. Because I don't know who designed the faces of those characters, but like, I get it. They were trying to be like, everybody's regionally different, but I'm like, that person looks like a lizard, and they're not a lizard folk. What are we doing here? And I think that there's probably since been people that have made like a pretty face, like Skyrim mod. Um, but I, the trees are the same. Yeah, like someone has clearly put a lot of time into this. You know what I mean? And there's like little butterflies and I feel like I would love to attribute this to like women in STEM, but I'm not 100% on that. It's super cute though. I have a hard time believing a guy would put this much effort into making a game adorable, but I mean, Stranger Things, you know what I mean? Like this is the kind of thing that occurs when you have people that have pride in their work. You know what I mean? Like even kind of honestly, the sounds are very pleasant. If I can just be a little autistic for a second. Like that's such like an audibly pleasing noise. And it's not too much, but it's just enough. So, but I guess my main gripe with the Wanted Raccoon, which again, I will take into consideration that it's an early access game, so they probably just like need a little bit more time. So my early access critique of that, I do not have anyone to play with. That's kind of like sort of the crux of my like villain arc as a gamer is that one, the only game that I've ever had someone to play with me was Lord of the Rings Return of the King on the old PlayStation, like PS2. And then that was, I think that was my first major purchase as a child, actually, was the PS2, but like the slim version, because I didn't have a lot of space in my room. And I wanted to play that game so bad, but it's kind of hard to play by yourself. And I really struggle with like jumping games. So like pretty much all Nintendo games are just like a no-go for me because anything that requires a double jump, I just like fundamentally lack that skill. Like I was up at work the other day and we were doing D&D stats. Oh, just a quick heads up. We've got like maybe another 10, 15 minutes before I've got to hop off because I do have to go to work tomorrow. Um, but I'm gonna try and hop on like immediately after. So hopefully that goes to plan. It is Monday, so hopefully nobody's going to try and bum rush the door like they did on Friday. Friday was ridiculous. I just stay there for like an extra hour, which normally I don't mind, but if I have plans, really irks me, especially when somebody's like, "Oh, hey, I would like to buy a single apple." I'm like, "That's crazy." 'Cause I don't think I would ever like knock on the door of a store an hour late and be like, "Excuse me, can I buy something that's like less than $5?" Like, what is the urgency of this? You know what I mean? And also, this is a bakery, sir. Like, this is not even like the main attraction of this place. This is so confusing. But, oh crap, what was I looking for? Oh, I lost it. Oh, it takes two. So, Lord of the Rings, double jumping. Ugh, dude, I honestly low key miss being an unemployed like cam girl pretty much. That was life, except not really. If I don't have something to do, I essentially just sort of go insane. Like even at work today, I am technically an independent contractor, so I'm just like kind of vibing up there, but I like couldn't help but like work. Like I'm supposed to just be off in my own little world, being like kind of selfish as fuck back there, just doing my own thing. And I did make apricot salsa, and that has been a grand success. But I can't help myself. I have to, I mean, even when I'm streaming, if this game didn't have this very pleasing little soundtrack in the background, like I have to have Spotify in the background. I have to have like just noise, you know what I mean? I have to have the and not crazy noise, like I don't necessarily need to have like city like background, like ambulances and whatever. Although for a time that was really relaxing. Um, so crazy. It's so weird, like the sound profiles you end up having in your life that are like relaxing too, I guess. But um, I did at one point, so I played Lord of the Rings, but I can't double jump at all. And so anything that requires like a double jump or anything like that, totally done. Whereas all of my friends were playing like Mario Kart at that age and stuff like that. I'm just like in my dungeon lair room, like trying to play through Return of the King soloing, and I was not good at it at all. And then I bought Monster Hunter because my ex-boyfriend and all of his friends were like, "Oh, Monster Hunter this, Monster Hunter that," and my roommate was like, "Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter," previous roommate, And so I get Monster Hunter and now none of them played it. So I have this essentially like useless game that I'm like, I could have just been playing The Witcher like this entire time. Practicing drawings. I mean, I draw a little bit. I'm not that good at it, if I'm being honest. I wish Procreate had a lasso tool. I think that that would help. Because kind of like shaping it out and stuff like that is sort of fun. I practiced the other day. I want to say, is this, oh, I don't know what this is called. Where's my apps? What are these? Nope. Just, okay. I did artwork out the other day. Promo. Uh, well, like, they insisted, they were like, no, no, play, no, get this game, get this game. I'm like, and like, I sort of hate being like a little bit of a logic rock about it, but I'm just like, guys, this is like a $60 game. Like, are we actually gonna play, or is this gonna be a game that I like purchase and then like you guys are never on at the same time as me, and then I just have this like game that I don't necessarily enjoy? Like, I'll play it, but like I only want to play it if I'm playing with other people. And they're like, yeah, dude, no, we play it all the time. We're playing it all the time. We're playing it all the time. I get that game, and then they played. They're kind of haters though, low key. They played, I think, Rocket League or something like that. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I mean, I will say this, they did totally rope me in with the fact that you have like a little kitty cat companion. Like, they got me on that one. But like, if I'm just gonna play Monster Hunter, like, why wouldn't I just replay The Witcher Wild Hunt for like the third time? You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't I just play like a book accurate version of like The Witcher one more time? You know? Because I feel like that story is far more stimulating to me than like, let's kill this like, I don't know, Razorbeak for like the third time. And it's just like, no, I'm not really into that. And it's like all the armors, like, I don't know, it feels Monster Hunter to me feels like early like 2010s WoW, where it's like go find 13 antlers and you're like, okay, and then you kill 100 deer and you're like, this is crazy. Yeah, they baited me for sure. And honestly, like I had a huge falling out with that roommate. Low key, why I'm not a big fan of healthcare workers, because they're some of the worst people I've ever met in my life, and I've met actual strippers and prostitutes. Um, I don't know if I can say that on here, but it is the truth. And those were actually some of the nicest people, most chaotic people. But like some of the most like genuinely nice people that I've met. But people that work in like healthcare have been some of the most like snide, mean spirited people. And I think that that's so crazy. And it's definitely soured me like a lot to that group of people. And I'm sure there's exceptions to that rule, just none that I've met specifically. But I live in a bubble, so um, what is another game that would be Baldur's Gate is I think available to everybody now. I think you can play with your friends multi-platform, which I am so stoked on. I would love to do a Baldur's Gate run with friends. That would be super sick. I don't know if you all have to start like level one together, if you can just like jump in with your friends or whatever. But that would be sick. Would very much like to do that. Because it's basically D&D. Like it's D&D, but it's like a given campaign that everybody's played. But everybody plays it a little differently. And so I think that you could still get kind of a unique experience. I want so badly for them to just digitize D&D. Like so desperately I want that. And not like, I mean, we have AI now. I think that with the framework of like, say, Baldur's Gate, you could with like, I don't know, maybe this is an ignorant take, but with very little like tweaking, I feel like you could create a video game. They were too comfortable with you there. Huh? No, 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 no. No, no, I worked in adult entertainment like forever ago, and so like I met a lot of those people. No, I was also friends with a lady that is a burlesque magician. Magic saucy lady. Very fun. To a shared room. No. I guess part of the secret lore of my life is that funny enough, I did technically live with a midnight entertainer. I guess I should probably not use the colloquial term in a chat. But I did live with one of those ladies, but funny enough, that was in college. I lived with a girl that like wouldn't pay her rent, and her solution to not paying her rent was to just bring home random dudes. And I was like, yeah, this is not a sustainable way to live, and also you're an insane person. But I don't think that if you asked that girl, she would claim that as a job. I think she was just sort of a trashy lady. You know what I mean? Um, from book to games, right? Um, so let's see here. Yeah, The Witcher was awesome. I loved playing that game. And another game that I think I got from that same group of people too, which like fooled me once, was Red Dead Redemption. They were like, no, we're gonna play Red Dead Redemption online together. And I was like, okay. So at least Red Dead Redemption had like an actual story mode game. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just play the story mode game until like this whole like online playing works out. And then it never came to fruition. And I was like, okay, I'm not buying multiplayer games anymore. The next time somebody says they want to play a multiplayer game with me, they will be getting me the game because that uh, will signify an investment in their money and also their time. And then that will increase the likelihood that they will play that specific game with me by probably 100 times. So I think that is probably the new policy I'm going to have for when people suggest games to me to play multiplayer, which sucks that like people had to kind of ruin that. But, it's just such an interesting like culture. And honestly, I think those people were just kind of like scummy. So that's not like a take on gamers as a whole. Because I've met tons of gamers that have like well planned out like game nights with their friends and stuff like that. I just don't think that those were those people. But I would really like to play. Oh, let's see. I have a couple in my wish list. Where are they at? I could do that. I try and only use the high seas on people that deserve it though. Like giant multinational corporations that have not been doing what I want to do, um, storytelling wise for near on a decade. I think it's probably fair to set sail on something like that. But like for example, like I would feel just awful um stealing this. Like this is the demo, and I think that the merit of me kind of showing people like how awesome this game is with the full intention to purchase this game because I believe in this game and I believe that the people that put this game together really put a lot of effort into this and it deserves to be appreciated and looked at by more people. I'm just trying to limit myself personally purchase wise. But should someone recommend this, like, oh, what would be a good fun cozy game that you can just kind of like chill, I would absolutely recommend this game. And honestly, I would probably recommend this game before I would recommend like The Sims too, because I feel like The Sims has gotten kind of like cash grabby also. Like, I mean, maybe it's always been cash grabby, but I just haven't noticed. Because like for example, um, probably closer to like 2 decades ago. I loved playing Zoo Tycoon, and it was like such a big deal to me. I spent like an absurd amount of money on this, and this is like old school money. That kind of money could have bought me like a computer, like if adjusted for inflation now. Not like a super great computer, but like a decent amount of cash. Because I think to get all of the games, it was like 100 and sorry, it's mosquito season. Um, I think it ended up being like 120 bucks or something like that to get like all of the like expansion packs on that. Probably have to wind down here because I gotta go to bed soon. But I loved playing Zoo Tycoon and I had all of them. I had the exotic creatures. I had I think it's like African animals, which is like kind of whatever, but I wanted to have like zebras super bad because I had like this vision for like zebras and bison or whatever, having all that. Oh, nice. Bear the Adventure. Mobile? Is it kind of like uh, Bear the Adventure? Super Bear Adventure? Bear the Adventure. Do you mean Super Bear Adventure? It's like sort of like a Minecraft looking bear. But anyhow, like this game, they put a lot of effort into it. And like, I think for movies for a while, because I was like so certain that they were going to, and again, this is alleged if anybody takes this bit of satire and comedy out of context, then that is not my intention. But if if I wanted to watch a movie and I was like pretty certain that they were going to shoehorn a bunch of like bullshit into it that I was not a fan of, I'm like, all right, I'll pirate this movie, and then if this movie is awesome and I can clearly tell that they put like effort into this and didn't just like ladle out slop for 90 minutes, I'll just rent the movie afterwards. You know what I mean? Like the moment it becomes available to rent, I'll just rent it because it's like I've already watched it, whatever. And then I'll use that opportunity, having rented it, to like show somebody else that movie. I'll be like, hey, watch this movie. Like it's great. And then I'll watch it like to get that other person to watch the movie. So it kind of ends up being like a watch party situation anyway, which I wish I had done for there's this movie called I think it's Into the Dark movie. I think not the TV series. Not that. Nice. I already have kind of like a movie place. I won't drop it in there, but I'll check that one out. Again, this is not legal advice. But I watched this movie and it was like I think it was like 3 hours long or something like that. It felt like forever. And basically the premise of it is this guy, the guy from Westworld, I think, Bernard or whatever from Westworld. He's like an investigator or something, and this woman's children have gone missing, and he goes up to like rural Alaska or something like that. And this woman's husband has gone off to war, and they're trying to figure out what happened, and everybody thinks that she, you know, lost them or whatever. But it just ends on this like really weird note. And I think that the director was trying to like make some kind of like surrealist statement with it or whatever. And the end of it is like them just like nude with like wolf masks on. The woman and her husband like running around in the woods or something. And I'm like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? Like, you've monopolized my time for this entire thing, and you've dropped little crumbs, but it's like you figure out how the movie ended. And it's like the whole you figure out how the movie ended only works if you've dropped. Right. I've started doing that because it's like if a movie is like super long, I'm not going to be tricked again and watch like 3 hours of a movie that the director is just like, you finish it. Like, I didn't watch this movie to think of the ending. Like, that's sort of your job as a storyteller, beginning, middle, end. And like, you can get away with not telling me the ending. Like, for example, I think The Sopranos ending was good. Like, maybe that's a hot take, but I think that that was a good ending because I feel like the ending to me personally seemed like, oh, they got like whacked. They got whacked after their dinner. And this is sort of like the end of like a Roman Empire. What movie made you cry? Me personally, it was Forrest Gump. Honestly, hello. It's, unfortunately, we're about to kick off because I've got to well, not kick off. We're about to log off because I've got to go to work tomorrow. But I will be streaming tomorrow as well, and I think tomorrow is set to be Baldur's Gate as well, so we'll hop back on that. Everybody's pretty much got a criminal record, if I recall correctly, because I kept trying to rob that halfling. Um, but a movie that made me cry. Let's see here. I have a list because I would like to categorize everything I've ever watched or read. I'm doing a decent job of it. Um, I will say this, I liked the menu. I thought that that was pretty good. Um, I think I cried watching Power of the Dog, but not for the reasons you'd probably imagine. It was interesting for Benedict Cumberbatch to be in that. Um, let's see. Are there more in here? Hmm. Um, don't break your sleep schedule. It's natural. Yeah, I ended up getting like suckered into like 2 extra shifts this week and it totally like threw off my rhythm. Um, the silent voice. What's that one? That sounds familiar. Oh yeah, I liked that one. I like that one. I also liked there is there's an anime with this older woman and this younger boy that's wanting to be a cobbler, and I wasn't a big fan of the age gap. I understand why they did it that way because they had to have the characters have like different they had to have them have different schedules and like secretly meet up and stuff, but like I like that they just kind of like casually gloss over the fact that that woman's like trying to groom a teenager. But I thought that that was kind of sweet. Not the grooming part, obviously, but the fact that she was like, "You should be a cobbler," and he was like, "Okay, cool." But there definitely should have been like some like friend or something like in that that was like, you probably shouldn't be hanging out with a teenager like that, you weird freak lady." But I thought that it was kind of cool that they showcased the fact that there's a lot of like dying crafts. You know what I mean? Because like I think there's a list on Reddit or something like that where it's like crafts that are going extinct because like young people aren't going into the trade anymore. And a weird background lore. I was pursuing having a cobbler make like custom shoes and stuff like that because they don't make shoes for people's feet anymore. They make shoes based off of like an assembly line thing. And I think it's like causing a bunch of podiatry like problems like across the world. But I like that like really struck a chord with me because they were highlighting that craft specifically. Yeah, when are we all gonna like rise up and be like, no more 100-year-old sorceresses that look like they're 8 years old? Like, I'm so sick of that, and I don't know why it keeps persisting. I watched this one anime where it's like this woman gets reincarnated and she comes back as like a 12-year-old, and I'm like, oh, cool. Like, this is probably like the other animes where I watch where like obviously you would like come to a realization like once you become like sort of self-actualized as your own person and have your own like sort of thoughts and like and then you do a time jump, right? Like obviously you do a time jump. You start off and you're like, oh, I'm 8 years old and I'm like drawing a picture and I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember being an adult finance dude. in like Japan in the 1960s or whatever, and now I'm like in a fantasy world or whatever, and you have that realization. And then like you show like some of the decisions that, because by the way, that's actually super relevant to the third book that I'm writing, because it starts off where one of the characters is like an actual child. She's like, I don't know, somewhere between 3 and 8 years old. I haven't really nailed that down yet, but like a child, and then a middle schooler, and then a teenager, and then an adult woman. You know what I mean? So like you're getting to see like the like family dynamics and stuff like that that like builds their characters and stuff. And then um no, for real. Like I don't understand why that's such a thing. Although I did, my first book is like a 100-year-old vampire that's like essentially like waiting for this teenage girl essentially to grow into his wife. So like there's gonna be an element of that to a degree, but I think that you can, it only works the one way. Like you can't have like somebody in a child's body with the mentality of like a 500-year-old person. That doesn't make sense. But for example, elves don't mature until they're like 40 years old. So Legolas is kind of like a whiny teenager until he's like 100 years old. So if you have a long-lived race, you can have like kind of a ditzy, naive version of that in an adult-shaped body. But it doesn't go the same direction the other way. So like circling back to that anime, the premise of it seemed cool. The premise of it is like she's been reincarnated. There's this god, and there's this foil to that god, and this guy is like, he is like the regent that is ruling under this one god, and he can't be with somebody that's a bit of a weird plot element, but I guess sort of makes sense. No, thank you. Yes, absolutely. I'm not a big fan of the Magic Girl era where they're like an 8-year-old, but they're like super powered. You know, it's giving Miss Marvel in the worst way. And Miss Marvel is like also not a big, I'm not a big fan of the whole like femme MCU where like girl boss power. And I'm like, yeah, sure, she like 1v1 Thanos. Why didn't she do that in the first movie then? You know what I mean? Like if we were just gonna girl boss this all up, if kids and women can just beat the brakes off of like essentially a god mode on steroids or whatever, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? I don't want to live in a world where like this is just topsy turvy. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any logical sense, and it completely negates the hero's journey. You know what I mean? That's why, like, honestly, I think that's why villains have become so popular because, like, you can't just God mode a villain. You actually have to write a plot for it. Like, you can't do plot armor for a villain. So there's a little bit more risk to it. They have more to lose. Whereas the hero, you just Naruto 5000 that, and then you're like, oh, I guess all of a sudden he has the power to defeat the enemy every single time. Ridiculous. So I'm watching this anime, and it's like, oh, she's 12 years old, and they're like, yeah, I can't be around women that are mature because then this evil goddess will like infiltrate them and like try and murder me and murder everybody around me. I'm like, that's kind of an interesting concept. So like they solve that, right? Like they imprison her or something like that, and they think everything's good, and then that becomes a problem later, right? No. They insisted upon making this character be an adolescent for like the entire like 13 episodes. And I'm like, come on, there's got to be a time jump here somewhere. Time jump, time jump, time jump, time jump. Where is this time jump? No time jump. And then at a couple of points, they like are ambiguous about her age, and they're like, oh yeah, she's like, when she's 14, when she turns 14. And then at one point she's like, I'm 12. And I'm like, that was kind of funny, but they didn't mean it funny. They didn't mean it in any kind of like poking like fun at this whole like nonsense trope where it's like this guy's clearly a creep, right? Like, and I guess like the age gap isn't that crazy, but like a 19-year-old and a 14-year-old is weird. Like, can we agree that that's weird? And I'm so sick of seeing it in anime. Like, you guys took the time to draw all of this to get voice actors, and you couldn't just not? You couldn't just not, you know? Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I like solo leveling. But just this whole like it's kind of, I guess it's like more refreshing than, like, for example, like Naruto. I think somebody, oh my God, somebody was on my TikTok the other day. I was under a video I was commenting under because I have no chill. And they were like, I think Naruto would be a good allegory for this autistic person that like can't handle this because like Naruto has like a demon inside of him, and when he lets the demon out, people get hurt. So that could be like an allegory for like unchecked aggression in people that like don't have a filter for aggression. So like you could tell him like you are like Naruto, and I'm like, does this guy think he's introducing an autistic person to anime? Like, is that truly this guy's take? Is just introduce this kid to anime and it will solve his autism? Because I'm like, I got news for you, buddy. It doesn't solve the autism. But Naruto, and also might teach that guy like a bad lesson because every time he comes up against somebody that's like trying to defeat him or like hassle his friends, he unleashes this uncontrollable power and beats that guy every time. So it's like not even a lesson about self-restraint like he thinks it's gonna be. But anyway, um I had a honestly, I always have an unexpectedly fun time on stream. It always ends up turning out better than I thought, which is weird because I think I tried to get into streaming in like 2020 and like maybe a couple of years before that. And I think honestly, the things that have changed us the most, which once again, I've got to give a shout out to himself on Twitch. He showed me, or her, who knows, showed me how to put the chat overlay over my games, and it has been like an insane game changer to be able to interact with you guys and not have to switch between windows because honestly, the technical aspect of streaming just kills it for me. It's so freaking boring to have to learn like the back end of this stuff. And I think if you want more people to create content and you want more people to stream or just make videos or do that kind of stuff in general, you've kind of got to make it idiot proof. Like, I don't want to have to learn 10,000 things. I kind of want to just be able to like go live and like for the most part, everything works. Like to make it like super polished and super pretty and like branded and stuff like that, I could understand that being like a level or two above. But just the ability to be able to read stuff on chat. Like I'm surprised Steam hasn't figured out how to like integrate multi-streaming chats in their overlay because I think that that would be a huge game changer for lots of people. Because clearly this is a solution that needed to be fixed because there wouldn't be like duct taped version solutions to this across the internet. But I had not the brain power to solve this problem on my own. So kudos to that person for showing me how to do that. Very much appreciate it. 10 out of 10. And also another shout out to AE on Discord. And I guess he's on Twitch. I think he was on Twitch, but also YouTube. No, he's on YouTube. For helping with the delay, fixing the delay on there, although there is still a bit of a delay for YouTube. But now with this chat thing in here, it doesn't matter too bad. And also everybody is welcome to join the Discord. I think I have a link on Twitch, but let me just pop that into the chat so you guys can join the cult and give me all of your anime recommendations and game recommendations. I really do appreciate it. You guys kind of make streaming fun, and I very much appreciate it. Do you think there should be a penalty? Honestly, that's sort of like the biggest detractor I had for streaming because I was like, I need to figure out in my little hamster wheel brain how I can interact with you guys because when I'm playing games, I'm just like locked in. And if I can't see you guys trying to interact with me, which by the way, I love, 10 out of 10, I love talking to you guys. And the ability to see you guys talking to me, like I said, such like a galaxy brain like game changer for me. Um, where they're just like, hold on, like I bet I have instances in my game. Like if you go on YouTube or on the Twitch and you like just scrub through there and see like when nobody is in the chat, like I'm just the whole time. And that drives me crazy. And it doesn't tell me when you guys like pop in. So I think that would be helpful. Because my brother-in-law was on the stream the other day. He's minty fresh. And he was giving me tips because he streams on Whatnot and he's killing it. He's doing so good at it. He's really creative, and I think that he has sort of like maybe a little bit bigger personality than me. And so he can like he's very engaging. And I think that I just kind of like tiz him out and I just sort of time out into what I'm doing. So if you guys enter the room, I have no way of knowing that you've entered the room because I'll greet you. I do it all day long. Somebody comes into the bakery, I say hello, I acknowledge them, and I'm hoping that they say something to me. Oh, that sucks. Because I can't like I don't think he streams on here, but he streams on Whatnot, and it's like gold and stuff like that. It's really cool. It's Minty Fresh Treasure Chest. If you want to find him on Whatnot, he's got a bunch of cool stuff, and he's selling tasty snacks as well. I don't know if that's included in the stuff that he's doing and all that, but I mean, the whole family is cooks, so highly recommend. Well, thank you. I'm actually about to wind down because I have to go to work tomorrow. But I really appreciate the interactions and stuff like that. It makes it way more fun. But I wish that this also told me when people like essentially walked in the door pretty much because I'll say hello to you. I love interacting like that. But I haven't figured out how to do that. So if anybody knows how to do that, definitely let me know because that I think would increase engagement as well. And then you guys talk more because once you guys have been acknowledged, you guys are pretty good. Oh, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Um, we're probably going to be streaming tomorrow. I don't know the time yet because I don't know what time I'll be able to leave work. Because the people turn into like the Walking Dead. Like the moment we close, they're like knocking at the doors, trying to climb up the side of the building and like, I need pie, let me in. And I'm kind of a sucker. I'll let them buy pies, probably a lot longer than I probably ought to, which my boss keeps getting on to me about. And then the day crew's like, where are all of our pies? And they're like, oh, Riley sold them all. I'm like, it's my job. But let's get that link in the Discord because you guys are all welcome to join. You should watch a tutorial on YouTube, to be honest. I don't really know what to look for though. Like, how do I? Because here's like making like a little doorbell noise. I think would be irritating to people because I turned that off for the chat. But I'm using like a completely different. I'm using like a what's it called? Does it even have a name? I don't think it has a name. But it's like a bit link thing that shows me the multi-stream chat, but it doesn't tell me when people enter the room. And if it like flashed on the top like, hey, someone's entered, I would say hello, but it doesn't say like you guys' names. Okay, before I forget, let me pop this into the multi-stream. And I looked at a bunch of different things to improve our Discord. We play Wordle every day, which is pretty fun and sort of on right. I do have to kick out so that I can do work tomorrow. But thanks everybody for watching. Go ahead and join the Discord if you want to talk to me when I'm off stream. I am on there every day. And if you talk, I'll talk back to you. It's impossible to out yap me. So we talk about books and nature and cooking and health and fitness and kind of stuff like that. And also I have chickens, and so we talk about like farming and like gardening and stuff like that on occasion when I belay them into that. But I will be finishing my second book here soon, and so then I will get my first and second book finished through the formatting process, and then eventually I'll be selling those. But I'm probably just gonna have those for free on ArcReads for a while because I mean, why not? and then I'll maybe I'll just sell them like when I finish with the third book, you know, like there's like no rush, you know. But thank you, you guys, for being on here. And yeah, 2 minutes 15, that's not too bad. I will see you guys tomorrow. Also, the Discord tells you announcements on stream. So if I have like a surprise stream like this, it'll let you know. Thank you to both Wish and